Hi friends, my name is Sarah. Welcome back to my Flosstube channel, the Rocking Chair Stitcher. Thank you for coming back to visit with me again. And if you're new here, thanks for checking out my channel. I hope you enjoyed that little intro at the beginning of the video. I've been wanting to do something like that and share it with you for quite some time, and finally got the time and the opportunity to do it, and I'm very tickled to do that. A little explanation as to where that comes from or why I did it. I started dabbling in very basic novice cinematography, or videography would probably be the more proper term. About 4.5 years ago, when we moved to Nova Scotia to document our journey to building our homestead, and so family could see what we were doing, building a little farm and all that. And I found that I had a love for it and really enjoyed it, really loved the editing and loved the creative side, and the nature portion of it is something that, oh man, I just love so much. So we have another YouTube channel that I used to share a lot of stuff on there, and for just some different reasons we decided to let that rest, and at this point we're not doing anything with it. But I miss that kind of creative outlet with that kind of videography. So when all the flowers were in bloom and I was just walking around this week outside with Justin, I was like, oh, I really want to capture some of that. And I've been wanting to do something kind of a little curated at the beginning of one of my floss tubes. So I don't know if I'll get a chance to do it again in the future. I would love for it to be a regular thing on my videos, but I don't know, we'll see. But I hope you enjoyed it. There is so many beautiful flowers on our property that just, it's like one after the other keeps coming, and whoever originally kind of developed the gardens on our land really did a beautiful job with picking things that were staggered. So I was sitting on a Zoom call this evening here in my bedroom, and I looked out the window, and out of the corner of my eye, I just happened to see one of our peonies has popped open. So they've been getting close, and if you know anything about peonies, they have to be pollinated by ants. I hadn't noticed ants on them this year, so I was a little nervous they weren't going to pop. But I saw one outside my window who was awake, so I'm very, very tickled. So I'm hoping to capture some, at least pictures of that for you for next time. I've been having a terrible time figuring out storage on my iPad. I used to work and edit on a computer, and that has long since passed, so we have just been using the iPad. So I'm hoping that I can figure out my storage issues so I can do a little more of these kind of videos. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. If I haven't already said, welcome back to my channel. If you enjoyed the video, I'd love it if you'd like and subscribe, all those things. But yeah, that is kind of a little introduction to who I am. That's only a very small piece, but I have picked up my book of days again. Done a little bit better than I did in April and early May. So I went back in, and I've been getting going in there a little bit. And I like to keep a little list over here of my new starts, my whips, my FOs, my FFOs. and then just some stuff for like my Etsy shop down at the bottom. And so I've been filling it in a little bit. I have been stitching a fair amount, but not as much as I was during the winter for sure. And I think it's just the nature of warmer weather, and there's a lot of stuff going on with life and everything. My friend Arlene asked me, have I been stitching lots lately? And I was like, nope. And then I got home and I was looking around and I was like, I've been stitching more than I realized. So I have gotten a little bit charted into June. I guess we're only in the first week, but I definitely have stitched other days and have not filled it in. But my problem is I wasn't keeping a pen with it. So I'd walk past it and be like, oh, I gotta go find a pen. So I'm going to try to keep a pen with it. That will help trigger my memory, hopefully. But I'm really still enjoying the book of days to kind of help track everything and all that. So if you see me looking down, I've written notes because I'm filming at nighttime and my brain's a little bit mushy, but I was going to film tomorrow, but now we have a house showing tomorrow. So I was like, okay, everything's out. I'm not leaving this out for the house showing in the morning. Although I could just share all of my stitching with whoever comes to look at our house. Maybe they're a crafter. But I thought, oh, well, you know, Josh is out doing stuff out in the shop and burning a bonfire and stuff. So I'm just going to have my shower real quick and I'm partially in jammies and everything. So welcome to the pajama party. No house sale as of yet. We've had, I think since the last video, just one showing, and that was yesterday. And then we have another showing tomorrow. So interest rates went down some this week for mortgages in Canada, which is really good news. They didn't drop as much as we were hoping, but it's a start, and they say it's a downward trend from here for the rest of the year. It should continue to go down. So that's hopeful, because the market's kind of really slow right now. And at least from what we understand. And it sounds like it kind of is in Ontario. It sounds like stuff is still moving more in Ontario than it is here, maybe. But of all places, I was at the pediatrician with Justin the other week, and he was saying to me, sorry, I've got what the Flosstube nose itch. As soon as you get on video, your nose will start itching like crazy. Anyway, I was at the pediatrician, and we're having to figure out transferring all the specialists over to Ontario for our son's medical needs. And he was saying, well, all it takes is one person to buy your house. And I was like, that's a good point. Like, so hopefully the right person will come along. And we've just been having a lot of conversations about, you know, contentment and waiting and trusting God in this. And Josh is a lot better at that than I am, but I think we're both feeling it. We just, that itch to just like, we don't want to leave. Like, we love the people here. We love everything here, really. But we want to be near family. And there's, you know, different things that play into why this move has been the right decision for us, the planning of it. But, like, so, like, we're not in a rush to, like, leave everybody we love here. It's more just, like, we're so tired of being in limbo. But in that, I'm learning a lot of how to live day to day, I guess. And I don't want to sound like I've got it figured out, because I don't. Because I just want it to be done. But I am learning a lot about resting and enjoying each day instead of trying to plan so far ahead. Yeah, I have never as an adult done well with spur of the moment and things not being planned and known and well laid out. And I feel like God is just teaching me to breathe and to release and to hold things lightly. That seems to be the theme of life this year. So I have been really trying to hone in on just, what am I doing today? Okay, I'm going to stitch some today. Okay, Justin and I are going to go to the splash pad today. Okay, we're going to bake muffins today. So that has been really good because it slowed me down in a way, which is humbling, because sometimes I think I'm just going to do it all and I burn out. And so just learning a little bit of, I don't know, how to rest and be content where I'm at while I wait. Because I know I'll miss Nova Scotia and I'll miss this house and I'll miss our people here and everything once we get moved. And we'll adjust and it'll be okay. But I don't want to waste the time here wishing I was there and wishing this was all done. So trying to trust the process of being in the middle ground of it all. But that's kind of a life update. Justin had a bunch of appointments the last couple of weeks, so we've just been doing those. Yeah, getting answers to certain things and really good reports on stuff. And yeah, just kind of seeing where he's at with his speech and all of that stuff. So that's kept us busy. And now all of a sudden we have a big whiteboard where we keep our schedules, anything we have upcoming for the three of us. So that way we keep it straight. And it was like for the first couple of days of this week, we didn't have like but one or two things aside from birthdays marked on that board. And then we just got like one or two appointments now by the end of the month, but it was like wide open. It was like, oh my goodness, I don't think I've seen a wide open month ever since having Justin. So it's kind of weird not to have anything planned, but it's kind of nice too. So that's life right now. But all of that to say, I'm going to jump in. I have no finishes, which is a little odd for me, but until this past week, everything was really busy with those appointments and stuff. So no finishes to show you, which this might be a first for me not to have them on Flosstube. I don't know what number Flosstube this is. I do know it's June. Sorry. But I don't even know what day of the month it is. It's June 8th. Oh boy. This is what you get with jammy Flosstube. That's gonna be a new genre. Or I bet somebody else has already said that. So who else stitches in their pajamas? Please tell me, let me know. Because now we can be best jammy friends. Anyway, I have some new starts I want to share with you. Sarah from Sew Me Sarah has shown, I don't remember if it's their last couple of Flosstubes in there. I'm not sure exactly which ones. A pattern by Stitchrovia called Pride and Prejudice. And for backstory, and sorry, nothing is ironed. That is not a new thing for me, but this is incredibly wrinkly. But when in high school, my sisters and I and my mom would have like girls' nights or slumber parties or whatever. We would sleep in the living room, like on a Friday night or Saturday night. And we would, eat junk food and stuff, but then we would pick a movie to watch. And 9 times out of 10, we would pick Pride and Prejudice, the mid-2000s version. I don't remember when it came out with Keira Knightley. I had never seen the long 6 or 8 hour one. Which I have now seen, absolutely love, watch yearly, but that's a side note. But anyway, we were obsessed with that movie. We could quote it, and we watched it so many times, it became like a soundtrack to fall asleep. So on nights that I struggle, sometimes I don't know that you could actually call it insomnia because it's not regular, but on occasion I have nights where I cannot sleep, like all night long. I just don't sleep. And when those happen, something I have found on occasion helps, but other nights where not so much the insomnia nights where I'm up all night, but the nights where I just struggle to fall asleep, I can turn on the soundtrack from that movie and I'll be out. Or I can just turn the movie on and just turn the screen down to where I don't see anything and just hearing it and listen to it. And I'll be out by like the 4th scene, like the scene where they're dancing and stuff. Yeah, all gone. Anyway, all that to say, this is You Have Bewitched Me, Body and Soul, which if you've seen that movie, is a quote by Mr. Darcy. And if you haven't seen that movie, please go watch it. I have been stitching this just this week, a couple of days, and I could not tell you, and this is going to be the case for basically everything tonight, I couldn't tell you if this is the called for. Sorry. This is a fabric from Michaels. Don't know the name of it. It's 18 count. This is my brain lately, and I'm watching everybody's Flosstubes, and they're like, this is on this and this fabric, and it's from such and such place, and it's this and this count, and I'm like, oh, one day my brain will be that organized. But anyway, this is one of my absolute favorite stitches, and it is so fast. I did not understand the measurements at all, which I'm okay with. I have way too much fabric here, and it also could unfold in half again. But my plan is to stitch a copy of this, at least for my older sister, but potentially one for my little sister as well. My little sister is graduating from college as a teacher in December, and she is the first woman in my family, on my mom's side of the family, I think, to ever graduate from college. So I'm pretty sure she's the first. I did 1 year of Bible college, but it wasn't like a 4-year degree or even a 2-year degree, which was great. But I would say my little sister is definitely the first to go and get like a 4-year degree. So I'm hoping to stitch something for her future classroom. But I have asked her what her vibe is because, yeah, she's 24 this year. She'll be 24. Jeepers, yeah, it's 2024. Yeah, she'll be 24 this year. And I am going to be 31. And I am shocked at that short of an age gap how different styles are. But she's truly, I guess, Gen Z. And I am a millennial, I guess. I think that's where those lines fall with the decades. Anyway, so her style is very different than most of the things that I love, which is totally cool, but I'm not sure what she likes for her, what her style will be. So I asked her, I said, what's the vibe of your classroom? And she's like, I'm not sure, but I'm going to, make a Pinterest board and figure all that. I was like, okay, well, hint, hint, I need some time to work on your gift before you graduate in December. So let me know. So if you have pattern suggestions for something classroomy, I'm not sure if that's the route I'll go, but I'm kind of hoping it's something she can display in her classroom. I would love to see, because I've only really seen one pattern so far, and everything has pencils, which are cute, but I don't think that's really going to be her look. Anyway, so if you have suggestions, let me know down in the comments. I would love to know. But I may be stitching this for her as well. If she doesn't get back to me with ideas, then she can just put it in her own bedroom or something. But anyway, so fun. Thanks for the suggestions, Sarah, on your videos. It's so fun. I'm going to stitch it again. So yeah, that was my first new start. Really highly suggest that pattern because it works up so quickly and so fun. So what I should say about this fabric is, I'm sure if I go back in a video, like at the beginning of the year, maybe in February or March, I would know what the name of this fabric is, because this is all the fabric that I got for the Quaker flag sal that I started 2 or 3 different times now, and this was the second or third fabric I tried and did not like it on it. I am going to start that pattern again. I am determined to stitch that pattern, but it's not my brain space right now to figure out what fabric and get my little ducks in a row. Can't do it. So eventually I will start that again. But I jumped on board with my first ever, well, actually, I guess the Quaker flag sal was my first sal. But that, you see how well that went for me. No hate to the actual sal, because people who are actually stitching it, it's turning out beautiful. Just, I did not work. So my first sal that I've actually participated in and quarter of the way keeping up is Dreaming of Summer sal. I did not have the proper red that it called for, but I had this one and I liked it. And I don't have the floss with me to tell you what it is, but if you really want to know that color, let me know and I'll look it up. So I still have to do the green stems and the white, like kind of Queen Anne's lace or baby's breath or whatever it is, flowers here. And then the next part of the sal is a house, which I was very pleasantly surprised with when I saw the blurred out image, because it's a mystery sal. When I saw the blurred out image, I thought for sure the brown, because you could kind of just see muted tones of like the colors. And I Dreaming of Summer, I assume there's flowers from these colors that you could kind of muted see. And I saw the brown, I thought, oh, it's flowers in a basket. And I'm like, that would be pretty. So when it came out with a house, I was actually very, very tickled. So I'm not too far behind, and I'm hoping to catch up maybe, let's say Saturday, probably not tomorrow. Catch up sometime this coming week on this one, because I'm really enjoying stitching this. This is nice. Just kind of, I'm tired at night work. It doesn't take some counting, like the Pride and Prejudice, I feel like is a lot more counting for me. But this is a lot less of that. So I'm really enjoying this one. So that's the Dreaming of Summer sal, and I don't remember who's hosting it. Oh, or who did the pattern either. I'm sure you've seen this everywhere. But if you really want to know, just message me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram as the Rocking Chair Stitcher as well. And I would like to tell you that this is just late night giggles, but it's not. This is me all the time. I always say every Flosstube, oh, this is what you're getting today. But this is what you get every time, because this is just me. I'm pretty sure now I'm like, yeah, that's what you get. It's okay though. Life's fun, right? Like, life's heavy and hard in so many ways. So we got to giggle. We got to be able to laugh at ourselves. trying to put these little scissors in my caddy so you can see it later. So I put up a little very short Flosstube extra whatever. I don't know, a week or two ago. Because I finished charting Josh's grandmother. That was bad English. Let me try again. Josh's grandma passed away back beginning of May. And Josh's grandmother was an immigrant from Holland. She came to Canada not long after the war. She followed her sweetheart here and they got married here. Her name is Martha. And I cannot imitate a Dutch accent to save my life. But she just spoke in a thick accent and told these stories about living in Holland during the war. And, you know, they were in occupied Holland. So it was, her stories were quite fascinating. Anyway, she and I got along really well. We didn't see each other much. And we saw each other a bit more when we lived in Ontario still. But she would come, or we would come to visit her and she'd say, "Oh, when are you going to have a little teddy?" And the background of that was her husband's name was Theodore. And so my husband is named after her husband with his middle name. So my husband, Josh, his middle name is Theodore. And so, you know, for years, I've talked about this a little bit on here, I guess, we couldn't have kids. And but at first grandma didn't know that. So she's always asking, "When are you going to have a little teddy?" And, you know, so at some point, I don't know, somebody explained to her we couldn't have kids or whatever. And she didn't ask anymore. But I always wanted to surprise her and say, "We have a little teddy." So when we had the adoption and we had our son Justin, we kept his first name and another middle name he has. And then we also gave him another middle name of Theodore. And so when we told grandma, she was like, "I know his name is Justin, but to me, he'll always be my little teddy." And she would say it like that. And I cannot do her accent. I'm so sorry for anyone who is Dutch and hears me doing this accent. But it's not it. Anyway, but it always tickled me to hear her say that and to hear her call him that. So anyway, she and I connected in a way that was cool because I immigrated to Canada from the US when I married Josh. Well, a little bit before, but truly immigrated when we got married. So it was a cool relationship on the bit of time that I got to know her over the last couple of years. She stitched an embroidery sampler back in 1946. So she completed it, I'm assuming, because that's when she dated the sampler in 1946. So this was her demonstration for school, showing her embroidery stitches that she could do. And I talked about it a little bit on another video. So I won't go like into it a ton more as I've already spilled on for I don't know how many minutes about grandma. But so I do not have all of those technique stitches, and I wanted to bring the pattern to where I could stitch it and to where I could share it with you guys. And I thought, let's turn it into a sal. So what I have done is I have turned the pattern into as close of a replica of the original as I can. I have made slight modifications. I talked about in the other video. I've mocked it up in color as close to color matching as I could to the original. And I've also mocked it up in a Delft blue, which is very common in Holland, and I don't know if other countries as well, but it's kind of that, I've also heard it called Dutch blue, and it's a lot of that blue and white dishes and I don't know, it's stoneware or porcelain, whatever. I had little planters at one point. My mother-in-law has like a little windmill I found her that has it. So anyway, so I've mocked it up in that. I really wanted to stitch it one color in the Delft blue, but Josh has seen this sampler his entire life at grandma's house and then at his mom's house, hanging on the wall when grandma moved to her retirement home. So I wanted to create a small version because the original is huge, really big. Well, I don't know. It's big. It takes up a fair amount of wall space. So my version is a lot smaller, but I wanted to stitch him a color copy as close to the original colors as possible. I may still stitch it again one day in the blue because I just think it would be so fun. And I've kind of made the Delft blue, which you could stitch it in any color, excuse me. I've kind of made it like the negative on some images, like pulling the outlines. I don't know how to better explain that. So the pattern is slightly different in the monochrome color version. So that way you can actually see the features of some of the detail. So all that to be said, I am stitching it and absolutely loving it. This is an 18 count fabric. And I absolutely love it. I'm just gonna move my light here because I think that's detracting from some of the colors. So this is starting from the bottom up, and it is so fun to stitch. And you can see here I've only got my half stitches on this portion, and so you know it'll look a lot darker on those swirls. And I've left some of the original bits and bobs to it where there's a stitch missing. I've left the stitch out. The pattern or the finished stitch was finished in 1946, so it's like 80 years old, almost 80 years old, something like that. So some of the stitches might have just simply gotten damaged or picked out just by movement or being framed or being carried, or I'm not sure. So anyway, I have a hashtag on Instagram that I have started, and it's called Martha's Samplers. Martha's Sampler, not samplers. Martha's Sampler. And I would absolutely love if you would like to join me in this. I have put the chart in my Etsy shop with my mother-in-law's permission. I made a digital version to sell in the shop, and I know there's a couple other people who have commented and who have purchased the pattern, and they're going to be stitching it too. I don't know if they're on Instagram or not, but if you are, when you start stitching it, I would absolutely love to see. There's no timeline on the Sal. I just wanted others to enjoy stitching this with me, because I don't want to claim the credit for it, because I did not create the color pattern and the full pattern of it at all. I just enjoyed like charting her work. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling on now, but I am finding it so beautiful to stitch. Really, really, really liking it. So if you want to join us, we would absolutely love it. We being me, me and the stitch. But in honor of Grandma. And yeah. So that is my last start. And then I just have one whip because I tried something new this week. Well, kind of new. But I will show you that in a minute. So I'm just going to show you my other whip. I can't remember if I showed this last time. I did. I did show it last time. It is not finished yet, but it's getting so close. So I'll throw the pattern up in my Etsy shop once it's ready, and I'm sure I'll put a video up about it. But this is Consider the Birds. And I am so tickled with how far along it's coming. Whoop, upside down. And the hummingbirds have arrived. Now, the one that sits on our power line, I don't know if I talked about that last time, but we have a hummingbird that comes every year that we've lived here, which is 4 years. This is our 5th spring here. And every year, I'm assuming it's the same hummingbird, comes and sits on the power line right outside our house. And so then last year, the year before, I started putting a bird feeder, like a hummingbird feeder out, and he'd swoop down, and then a bunch of other hummingbirds came because they had different colors. Anyway, so the hummingbirds are back. I put my feeder out this week. Hummingbirds are back, but I haven't seen the one that sits on the power line. That or else he stopped sitting on power lines. But this is Consider the Birds of the Sky, and the pattern will just be called Consider the Birds. And I have absolutely loved stitching him. He's not quite finished yet. This orange flower will go all the way around. And the rest of the verse, Consider the Birds of the Sky, and then the reference for the verse. This is a scripture verse. I really like this because I do feel like even if you're not stitching it for the fact of scripture, I think just the phrase Consider the Birds of the Sky kind of sounds poetic as well. There's, for me, much deeper meaning as to why I chose to stitch this. And it's funny, when I was designing it, not as much deep meaning as what has come to pass since I've started stitching it. Yeah, it's been a really beautiful reminder of the fact that he cares even for the birds that fall. And he feeds them, and he provides through nature what they need. And if he considers the birds of the sky, surely he knows me and considers my needs. and has a beautiful plan, even if I don't understand it. And there's, a lot of life going on that we don't see in people's lives when they're on Flosstube, or when we see them at work, or whatever other scenarios where you see people. And I don't know. It's just been a beautiful reminder of realizing there's so many people with so much going on in their lives and so many things that hurt and are hard. But this represents a lot of hope that I have, that he considers even the little birds, and he cares for them, and he makes sure that the earth gives them what they need to eat, and he makes a way for them, and he makes their needs met, I guess. That's not great explaining, but so that hope and that encouragement has been really sweet while stitching this silly little hummingbird, because honestly what inspired me to design a bird pattern was watching Kim, Contented Needleworker Kim, and I think I mentioned that last time, because I saw all the birds on her patterns behind. I was like, I really want a pattern that I designed to have a bird in it. And then Josh mentioned, oh, you could do Consider the Birds verse. And then I was like, I'll do a hummingbird because we have a hummingbird who comes. So it kind of all just kind of melded together. My brain goes a million miles an hour when I'm designing a pattern. And I usually design it within an hour or two, sometimes more. And I stay up late and don't sleep until 2 a.m. on those nights. It's a good thing that pattern inspiration does not strike every night, because I would never get any sleep. Oh man. But, yeah, no, this one just fell together, and then it's just been cool having that constant reminder of the scripture in front of me, because the words haven't taken long to stitch, and I actually haven't finished them, but there's a lot of fill-in on the hummingbird, and just having those words in front of me while I'm stitching the hummingbird, and just being reminded of that truth. God really does care for every little creature. He also cares for me. So anyway, Consider the Birds. I'm enjoying it a lot. I will have it finished at some point, and I'm excited to hopefully get this one maybe professionally framed at some point. So I will not wait to publish the pattern until it's professionally framed, because that's probably going to be once we move that I get that all done. But I did have, I wanted to mention, and I'm so sorry, I had 1 or 2 of you guys comment last time because I had a little nick in the fabric. I actually have 1 or 2 more. And I think I figured out what's doing it. I think it's the metal on my embroidery hoop was scraping against the fabric and I wasn't noticing it. Maybe how I was storing it in my project bag or something. So I'm just being a lot more cautious how I store it now and how I move that hoop with it. Anyway, so somebody commented, or maybe 2 people, I can't remember, suggested using an iron-on interfacing on the back, fusible interfacing or whatever, to shore up that area, so that way it wasn't gonna come apart or get picked. So I have borrowed my friend's iron and I still haven't given it back, but she's she never uses it. So I feel total side note here, I feel no one in my generation uses an iron if they own it unless they sew. I have friends in other generations who use irons, and they iron their husband's shirts and collars, and I've heard of people ironing jeans, but I don't know if I know anybody who irons jeans. And no offense if you iron them either. Your life is way more put together than mine. But what is that? Why do other generations before me iron a lot of stuff? I don't get it. So not a necessary conversation, but do you iron or not? I am very curious by this, because my friend, she was like, I never use it. You could damage it and I wouldn't know for 10 years that it needs replacing. So I only use my iron for this kind of stuff now. Anyway, why was I telling you about the iron? Oh, I have the iron so I can fix the little nick in the fabric. There's 2 or 3 of them. So that is on my list of things to hopefully do this week, is do those little fusible things. That was an excellent suggestion, because I think it really will help. So thank you very much. I had not thought about it at all. The reason that I don't have more stitching done, if I need a reason, which I don't, but whatever, is I had one night that I made it to a quilting block class, and I was supposed to be at a bunch of them in life. We ended up traveling for grandma's passing and all of those things. So anyway, I only ever made it to one, but I really enjoyed the one I went to. We laughed lots. It was a good time. And I have forgotten to bring that quilt block with me. So I'll have to show it to you another time. Maybe when I'm thinking I'm going to turn it into a project bag for myself, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I made my very first ever quilt block, and it was like a bougie quilt block. It's not like probably bougie for some of you guys who do like really intense quilting, like, but for me, like having to cut little small squares instead of just big square blocks, but like little small ones. I don't know. It took me like 4 or 5 hours. We were there from like 6 or 7 until 10 or 10:30. And I still didn't finish that night. Anyway, I went down to the church, picked up all my supplies the other day with Josh, got back here, and I was like, I'm going to finish this quilt block. If I do nothing else sewing-wise for years, I'm going to finish the quilt block. Well, I finished my quilt block. But then I was like, oh, I could do something else. So then I got searching on Pinterest and all this stuff. And I found a video, which I found the Instagram account connected to the video. It's not who shared it on Pinterest. And as far as I can tell, they do not sell this pattern. And I don't think they even sell, because I can't, it's all in Portuguese. I can't see any of this product in their Etsy shop either. So the reason I say that is if they have a pattern, I would gladly purchase it, because it would be easier than trying to watch the video and just copying it. But I watched the video several times through, and the best I could copied the sewing, because it was kind of like this is how I made this kind of thing. I was like, okay, I'll make that too. So anyway, if anyone knows, please tell me. I would love to actually purchase their pattern, because I would like to make this again. I feel like it will help me get it more exacting. But I made a little sewing caddy. So, you little scissors now in here. Isn't that cute? And you can put all your little doodads and boobobs in there. And when it's not full of stuff, you actually squish it flat. So you could stick it in your bag when you're traveling and stuff. So then I was like, well, I don't love, okay, wild scissors here. I don't love that I put my scissors in and they kind of aren't perfectly in there. When it's sitting on the couch or the table, it's not the end of the world. But I'm like, I just want to be more secure. So that was like, if I change the dimensions of the fabric, because this was a 12 by 12 square, and then you do a seam allowance, but my stitching's not that even, so I don't know what my seam allowance actually ended up being. And if you're a sewer, I'm so sorry. Because I don't know any of the terms. But I decided to make a bigger one, which, as you can tell, I have not even bothered yet to pin these down to finish, because, yeah, life. But I went 14 by 14 maybe, and so the pockets are bigger, but they're really loose. So I almost think I need to, like, I've tacked down the corners of, I am not showing this well. I've tacked down the corners on the back side of the material, but I almost think I need to tack down the corners of the top piece maybe. I'm not sure. So I haven't tacked down these corners yet because I'm not 100%. I like this angle because I almost feel like it's too shallow. And I think if I stitch it at a different angle, this part here, that this will sit a little differently. So this one's still a work in progress. So that's why I say, well, besides the fact that if the lady has a pattern, I'd rather purchase it. But that's why I say I don't know what I think of this. But it also cones in a little differently. Like it's more, I don't know. They're different. I like the size of this better, but I wish the pockets were a little deeper. So anyway, my guess is I'll just continue using these. I'll tack down the corners, and this is the way it will be for the rest of my life. But maybe I'll get brave and try another one again. It is a lot of steps, but it was fun to make. So the other thing that I made with sewing this week, or last week before last, whatever, sometime this month, last month, I made a tote out of some of my Nana's fabric for my little sister. So my Nana left, when she passed last year, my Nana left a quilt shop of fabric, as well as a ton of other craft supplies. And I'm basically not the only crafter in my family, but the only one who does crafting, I would say, with much regularity, other than maybe one of my cousins who took some of the stuff. Like was allowed to take some of the stuff. So they asked me if I wanted the rest of it. And I was like, how much is the rest of it? And there was a ton of stuff. And I've talked about this in past videos. So anyway, when we were back in Ontario for my father-in-law's funeral in January, I got a chance to go through all of my Nana's stuff because my aunt had brought it up from the US and left it at my in-laws for a future date for me to get. So I went through and I found all this stuff, and there was a ton, like 14 or 15 quilt tops that, are not completed. So I asked all my siblings if they wanted one and like showed them all the pictures, and everybody picked. And so my mother-in-law is going to help me over the next several years she has a, sorry again, quilter. She has some kind of machine that helps quilt. I think it's called long arm, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I think I need to make a note that I'm not allowed to do nighttime floss tubes. But anyway, she has a machine that you can quilt with. So she's going to help me do some, and I'm going to try to hand stitch at least one or two of them. But my little sister didn't care for the colors and things of some of them. And she's not a picky person, like nothing like that. It's just the one she preferred had already been chosen. And anyway, long story short, I was like, I have so much fabric that was given to me from her stuff that isn't made into anything yet. Would you like me to make you something? And I did not feel ready or equipped to make a whole new quilt. And she's like, well, I would love like a tote bag, because she can be a teacher. And so I'm sure she can use tote bags. So anyway, I made a very basic tote bag that I followed a tutorial on Pinterest, but out of fabrics from Nana's stash. So she got that yesterday in the mail, and that was really fun to make. And I'm working on a project bag, but I screwed up the zipper, and then really screwed up the zipper and broke the zipper. And so then the next day I went to the fabric store when we were in another town and got a zipper that I was so excited about. It was really heavy duty, good quality. And then I got home and it was the wrong color. I was like, okay, this project bag is not meant to be this week. So I have a cool project bag that is a new technique I'm trying. I think I showed maybe on my Instagram. Anyway, I will show it to you at some point when it's finished. But yeah, that's my sewing doodads for this week. I have tucked the sewing machine away for now to clean up my kitchen, and I was sewing a little bit every day for several days in a row, which was a tip I heard Darlene from Darlene Dion Designs, which is my friend down the road. I heard her saying on one of her Flosstube videos, just keep your machine out or have it set up somewhere, and you're much more likely to like actually sew daily or whatever. And I did find that the case, and it was really nice, but it was also cluttering up my kitchen. And now that we're starting to get, we're on our second showing tomorrow. So now that we're starting to get showings, I'm just trying to keep the kitchen more tidy right now. But I really, really enjoyed it, and it gives me great motivation to set up some kind of little sewing hobby room when we get moved. That is all my rambling for sewing, for whips, for all of that. I have a little bit of haul that I wanted to share with you. I've already shown you the Pride and Prejudice stitchrovia pattern. I had a pattern I don't believe I've showed you yet that I purchased a little while back. Alison at A New Creation Studio puts out the most beautiful patterns. I absolutely love them. If you have not seen them, she's on Instagram and she shares them. They're great. I don't think she has a Flosstube. Alison, if somehow you see my video, I would love to watch your Flosstube, because yeah. If you make one, because I'm like 95% sure she doesn't. But anyway, I got this pattern back before Easter, and maybe I have shown it. I don't remember. Bear with me if I have. I think it's called My Redeemer Lives, and I thought it was stunning. And I'm currently stitching another one of her patterns, My Soul Finds Rest. And so at some point I'm going to stitch this. If I don't get it started this year, definitely by Easter next year I want to start it. I would love to have it stitched for Easter next year. But either way. But it's definitely Eastery, and like the focus is Easter, but I honestly think it's something I would keep on my wall year round, because I do definitely prefer seasonal decorations to come up and down with the seasons and not stay up. But sometimes stuff like this to me is crossover where it can stay up all year round. So we'll see. I'm hoping to stitch that one next year at some point. I don't think I'll probably get to it this year, but who knows. Anyway, I got that pattern, and then I got it's called Flower Birth Cross Stitch, and it's by Historical Sampler on Etsy. And I looked for quite some time to find one that I really liked, because I am going to have a new niece, and I'm also going to have another new niece or nephew from a different sibling, but I don't know that info at this time. But for the new niece, I am going to stitch this beauty by Historical Sampler. Oh, come on, let me show you. Oh, now my light maybe. Hold on. I don't know if the light, oh, now my light's just gonna fall. Oh, there she is. Will it focus a little better? Nope, technology is gonna be all fancy and try to, I'll see if I can put a photo in here. It is so beautiful, and it's very vintage looking. If I remember right from the description, it's not actually vintage charted. I think it's just vintage inspired. You know, maybe we don't need that light. I thought it was so pretty, and actually it made me question Justin's birth sampler that I have yet to start. When I thought about this weekend, I was like, if I'm going to stitch a niece or a nephew a birth sampler, I want to get my own kids done or started at least. So, but now I'm questioning, do I want to do something a little bit more like that kind of style for Justin? So, to be continued on that one. I'm not sure. But I'm very, very excited to stitch that. I have already placed a 1, 2, 3 stitch order with, the fabric and the flosses called for, and I am itching for it to come because it is beautiful, and I'm really excited to stitch it. And I will keep you guys up to date as I stitch that, of course, in my whips. And then once I do know the baby's name, but they're not sure of the order, first or middle and that kind of thing, and I won't be sharing that on here anyway, so I will just keep stitching and showing you up until it's finished, and then I'll put the name in once the baby's born, and I won't show you anything past that anymore, just for their privacy. But it's, I think, gonna be a beautiful stitch. So I don't recognize that pattern on Instagram that I've ever seen. So if you've ever seen someone stitch it, I would absolutely love to see someone's finished stitch of it other than the model sample online. So if you know, let me know. But I would love to hear how you're doing. I would love to hear what you're stitching. I really, really enjoy reading your comments. There have been a couple people over the last month or two who have mentioned me, and I don't always see it. I am so behind on Flosstubes and watching when I can, but yeah. So if you see someone mention me, some of you guys have messaged me when Kim shouted me out before I went and saw her video. But a couple of people have, and they've been so sweet in the things they've said, and it just has made my heart melt. So thank you guys. You guys are treasures. And you're treasures even if you haven't mentioned me. Like, you don't have to have a Flosstube to be cool in my books. Just the fact that you're here and spending time with me is really cool. But I just really appreciate the kind words from each of you. And I really enjoy hearing when you connect with something. Some of you have told me you're stitching similar pattern or the same patterns of certain things throughout different videos. I've seen those comments and stuff. And, it's just a really, really fun community. I don't know many people around here who stitch. You can ask Darlene when we get talking about it. Like, I love to talk about it. And so, yeah, it's really, really nice to chat online and meet other people who are really excited and enjoying it. One last thing, there is a group online. I'm going to pull it up so I get the actual wording of the name right. I was just on the video call tonight. Once a month, there are Zoom video calls, and you have to join the Facebook group, and then they put a link to their website where you can order a free ticket. So you do check out like you're paying for something, but you never put your card info in or anything, and you buy a free ticket. And then they email you with like a PDF with a link to the Zoom call. And it's the second Saturday of every month, as far as I'm aware. And the group on Facebook is called Across the Pond _stitch and chat. And there's people from all over the world in there. And that is so cool. Like, there was a lady there today from Iceland, I think, or who lives in Iceland. But there's people from all over the world. So the time zones are all different. Like, it's one time, but it's different for where you live. So yeah, anyway, I wanted to tell you about that because I have found that really cool. You can get on there and keep your video and your audio muted the whole time. You don't have to show your face if you don't want to. And there's definitely times where, like, I'm needed with Justin for a second, or I have to run to the washroom or whatever else. Or like tonight, I needed to eat something because it was right during dinner time. So I actually turned my camera off and just ate some of my dinner and listened. But it's really nice because people show what they're stitching. People share links to their Instagram and their Flosstube and stuff. So you find new creators as well. And then you get to know them a bit on the chat. So I would highly recommend checking that out. And yeah, I think that is the last thing I had to share with you tonight. I hope that you're having a good night, and I appreciate that you've stuck around through my giggles and my very blinking brain. Lots of mind blanks there, but that's okay. I really enjoy that I can just share and be myself, and that you guys hang out with me. So I hope you enjoy your next floss tube, and happy stitching, and I'll see you next time.